here we are. So today we're going to design a calendar for the new year from scratch using Adobe InDesign. Of course, we'll use some images, but the bulk of the work will be all handled by InDesign and InDesign alone. So with that said, we'll show you some ways that you can customize it to whatever your liking is, even all the way from the size of the calendar to how you have it formatted, to fonts, to colors, to whatever it is you want to put on it. That's the whole point of making one from scratch. So with that said, let me go ahead and pop over to my computer here. I've got InDesign CC running, of course, with no document open, because I like to start these from scratch as much as possible. So that means opening a document from scratch when possible. And what I'm going to do, let me just check one more thing here. Hang on, guys. Let me refresh just to make sure I can see your comments. All right, I see Linda, I see Victoria, Defeer, I see you as well. All right, here we go. Let me just do one more thing now. Sorry about this, folks. I just want to make sure I don't miss anything. All right. Let me refresh this page just to be on the safe side. And as we're waiting, there we are. Okay, so anyone using InDesign should be able to follow along with this. So let's go ahead and get started. I've got InDesign open. I'm just going to go ahead and create a new document. Now, first and foremost, the document size you create, again, there's no preference here. You can make whatever you want. It's basically, if you're going to make this to be printed, it's whatever size you can print. So, for example, I would typically want to make these tabloid size, 11 by 17. So that would be basically, in the US, two 8.5 by 11s folded in half. But if my printer, if I'm going to print this at home, my printer doesn't print an 11 by 17, it only prints an 8.5 by 11. So I would make a smaller version. So it really depends on your printing capabilities if you plan on making this a printed calendar. If you don't want to make it a printed calendar, or you just want to use it on screen or make it a greeting card or whatever, then it can be whatever size you want. But just keep in mind the size is usually going to be what you can handle from a printing standpoint. Now, if you're going to send it off to be printed, then of course, all bets are off. You can make it whatever you want. So I'm going to make this 8.5 by 11, which I've already kind of start setting this up. I'm going to make 14 pages because they're obviously going to be 12 months, but if I were going to really print this out, I would want it nice and even so I could fold it over, and I would have a cover image and I would have a back cover image. We're not going to do the covers today. We're just going to really concentrate on the inside, but 14 pages is what I want. Now, since I'm not doing kind of a planner or that type of calendar, I'm not going to make it facing pages, and I only want one column. And I also expose my margins to be 1/4 inch, which I believe is what my printer can handle. So if your printer can do full bleed, your printer can print to the edge or borderless, then you can make this 0. You don't have to make it any margin at all. All right, so let's go ahead and create that nice new 14-page document. And when I head over to my Pages panel, that's where I will see all my 14 pages, including the bulk of the work that we're going to do on the master page. So at this point, I can see all 14 pages are here. I'm now going to double click on the master page so that way I can design the items that I want to be on all the pages. That's why we do this work on the master page. So for example, the first thing I'm going to do is drag down a horizontal guide. I'll put that at the 5.5 inch mark. That will be halfway down my page. Again, halfway, depends on your page. But on a 8.5 by 11 or 11 inch page, halfway down is 5.5 inches. Now I'm going to also put 2 more guides in. I'll put this one at 5 1/4 and put this one at 5 3/4, because that's really, that middle one's going to be the fold, and everything else is going to be, give myself that same amount of margin all the way around. Now I'm just going to drag out a frame that I want to be for the main image on the cover. And keep in mind that I'm saying main image. You can have as many images as you want on the cover of each month. You don't have to have just one. You can have 2, you can have 3, you can have a collage, you can have whatever you want. But we're gonna assume that each month at least has 1 image. Add more if you feel. Next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to add a text frame. below the fold, and this is going to contain our month. I'm not going to make it too big because you just kind of really need to know what month it is. You don't really need to be, it doesn't really need to be that giant. I'd rather have more space for the calendar items. And so I'm just going to go ahead and type in month 2018, because we'll really go ahead and set that for each month. This is, again, working on the master page. Happy New Year, Ener, Hassan, Martin, Nicole, and Lee, and everyone else that I can see in the chat there. Thank you. Let's go ahead and center this. Keyboard shortcut for that is Command-Shift-C, PC Control-Shift-C, and that will center that for me. I'm just also going to change the font and make this larger. Now, font choices, again, this is all up to you. I'm going to stick to something simple for this. I'm going to use Myriad Pro, and I'm going to make this Myriad Pro bold. Again, you can make this whatever your heart's content. Now, I'm making this bigger by using the keyboard. One of my favorite InDesign, or basically Adobe keyboard shortcuts, is Command, PC, Control, Shift, greater than. The greater than is above the period on a US keyboard. So Command Shift less than and Command Shift greater than allow me to visually see how big that is and get it as big as I can get it inside the frame that I can create it. All right, so that'll say January, February, March, so forth and so on. We got the year. Now, last but not least, we need the information that's going to be the actual calendar, which is basically going to be a table. So to do a table, all you have to do is go up to the table menu, create table, and you might say, well, what size do I need? Obviously, I'm going to need 7 days across, 7 columns, but how many rows? I'm going to say you're going to need at least 7. You're going to need one that's going to be the days, so Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, so forth and so on. And then you say, well, don't most months only have 4 or 5 weeks? Yes, but then there's those odd months that the first of the month starts on a Saturday, and the last day of the month ends on like a weird day. So you end up with either 6 or 5 or 6 rows. So that way, if you do 7 and 7, you're covered. You know you have enough. So let's go ahead and click OK. And what that will allow me to do is just drag my table out to be wherever I want it to be. I want my table to be right there. And there's my 7 by 7. Now I'm going to go ahead and type in some of the information that we want. You can again make this all caps, upper, lower, whatever you want. I'm hitting tab, jump between each one. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. All right, we got that covered. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and get some styling right off the bat. So let's go ahead and I want to select the entire table to do that. So I'm in the Type tool. And I want to position my cursor to the uppermost left corner of the table. If I position it on the left side, you get an arrow pointing in. That selects a row. If I position it above a column, that allows me to select the entire column. But if I position it in the upper left corner where it's pointing diagonally down, then that lets me get the entire table. So that way, I've got the entire table selected. Now any formatting that I do will cover everything. So for example, I want to right justify everything. Personal preference, your choice. I want to go ahead and set that font choice that I had before. Let's go up to my recents. Let's go ahead and make that all Myriad Pro. You could make the size whatever you want there. I also want to turn off all the guides, all the bars, all the strokes for each one of those. So I'm just going to go ahead and set that stroke weight to 0. That means that it will now no longer have a visible stroke. So if I wanted to see what it looked like, I would just hit get out of everything, hit the letter W. Oh, I didn't have my column selected for some reason. But that will show, and that's why we do a preview so we can see it. Let's go ahead and do this, and let's do one more thing. Let's go to our table menu, come down to cell options, strokes and fills, and let's just go ahead and make that 0 across the board. That should do it. All right, so now I see that they went away. So now if I preview this, we don't see anything, but we know the cells are there because preview just shows what's going to print. And this will let me see that the dates will print, the month will print, but nothing else. That also reminded me to do something. On the main image frame, I do want to see a border around it because I'm not printing to the edge. So I want to see a 1-point border around it. And just to save myself time when I place my images. Every month, I want my images, for every month, I want my images to be, to fill that frame proportionally. So I'm going to go to my object menu. I'm going to come down to frame fitting options, and I'm going to say that I want to let's do this. Let's do auto fit, fill frame proportionally, and we're going to auto fit. There we go. So auto fit, fill frame proportionally from the center, click OK. So now that frame is all set. Every image I place in it will be ready to go. One last option we're going to do, and you'll learn why we're going to do this in just a minute when we get over to actually putting in the information. But let's go ahead and select the table one more time. And let's go to the table menu one more time. Let's go to cell options. Now we did strokes and fills. We turned off all the strokes. I want to go to the graphic options now because I forgot to do it when I had it selected earlier. Let's go to graphic. And let's go in and say clip contents to cell. Why are we doing that? You'll learn why in just a minute. Let's go ahead and click OK, but just trust me. You want to do that for the entire table. Click OK. Makes no change now, but it will help you out in the future. So now every single month has all of these items on it. So if we go to January or page 1, page 2, page 3, they all look exactly the same. Now we can start putting in our information. Now, of course, we're not going to do all the pages. We're not going to do every single month because it's mostly just repeating the same thing over and over again. But let's go to page 1, which actually, page 1, we're going to say that it has no master. We're going to drag just a blank master on that one. And we're going to drag a blank master on page 14 because remember, those are our covers. So on these pages, you would design whatever you want your cover to be. Front and back. All right, so now we're going to go to page 2, which would technically be, once you open up the calendar, this would be the January page. All right, so now that we've got this in place, let's go in. Oh, well, sorry I'm late, Lisa, that you didn't get to see this in October when you were working on the calendar, but better late than never. Now you're prepared for 2019. All right, so now let's go ahead and do this. We've got everything in place, but keep in mind, because we put things on the master page, that means that automatically you can't select them on the regular document pages. So on page 2, Terry, well, you're probably saying, how am I going to change the month if I can't click on it to change it because it's on the master page? We put the things on the master page to quickly replicate them on all the pages, but we're not going to keep them as master items because every single one's going to change. So we want them to all be consistent. We want them to all be in the same spot. We want them to all have the initial look and feel. But now we're going to unlock them from the master page so they're no longer master items so that we can change them. So for example, for this, I want this to say January. I'm going to hold down my Command key on Mac, PC, that would be Control key, Shift, click. When you Command, Shift, click or Control, Shift, click, that unlocks that item from the master page. So now I can edit it. I can change this to whatever I want. I can have that say January, upper lowercase, all caps, whatever I want. Change the color, change the font, change whatever I want because now I've unlocked that item from the master page. But it's a quick cheat to get, for example, same thing here, Command Shift click. Now this one will be February. So that way I don't have to style every single one. I don't have to use a style sheet for every single one, although a style sheet wouldn't hurt because if I want to change my mind, that would make it easier. But you got the idea. That will go in and let me unlock these items so that I can edit them as we go. So I don't think you have to unlock an item if you're going to place an image into it. So let's test that. Let's go to File and Place. And let's go ahead and grab an image for our calendar here. Here's a picture I took in Iceland. Here's another Iceland picture. Here's the supermoon from last night. Let's use this one. I kind of like that image. All right, so when I hit place, even on a master item, that will let me place it inside that frame. And of course, because I set it to fill frame proportionally, boom, fills the frame nicely. I don't have to do anything else to it. I can add more images to this page. I can do whatever I want. I can make that image smaller, do whatever I want, but placing that image will automatically unlock that particular item from the master page. So now we're down to the days. So again, we can't do anything to the table until we unlock it. So Command, Shift, click January, thank you. Someone said, you forgot the R, and I did. January. Always proofread your work or have people in the comments that will do it for you. All right, so anyway, let's go here. And of course, we want to do our Monday, Tuesday, or our first, second, third, fourth. Unfortunately, I don't have a shortcut for this. I'm just hitting tab and typing the numbers. Same thing here. You definitely don't want to miss a day because it will be painful to have to go back and retype them all. And I didn't really see any advantage to doing this on the master page because every month's going to be different except for maybe February and March because they're pretty much the same. But everything else is going to be different. So I didn't see any advantage of doing this on the master page. 20, 21, 22, 3, 24, 6, sorry about that, 28, 29, 30, and 31. So just verify this with an actual calendar just to make sure you're doing the right amount of days. You don't want like February 30th. You don't want to skip a day. You don't want to put the same date in twice. It really helps to proofread this. All right, so we got our days in. Now, what else? You could just say, okay, go to February and do the same thing. Let's do some more things, though. Let's do some things that you wouldn't necessarily think to do. One of the things I've always enjoyed about creating a custom calendar is that not only could I make the image the way I want, but I could also mess around with the days themselves, the dates. Instead of just having a number, for example, maybe I'm celebrating someone's birthday or a holiday or something, and I want not only the text in there, but I want a custom image. I want something else. And by the way, if you wanted to put in text, you could. So for example, I don't want to go down that far. I could put in MLK Jr. birthday. So I make that a little smaller so that fits. I don't want anything to jump down to another line. There we go. So you can put in your own custom text, but I like putting in my own custom images, which is another reason why I like doing this as a table. Can you import 2018 calendars? If you can find it in a spreadsheet, Samuel, you can import like an Excel document and do that, or a Word document, but you'd have to find it first. So let's say, for example, I'm going to say that this is Robert's birthday. Robert's birthday is on the 10th, but I'm going to take the numbers out. I'm going to get rid of the numbers, and I'm going to hit File, Place. And I'm going to go find a picture of Robert under birthdays. I think it's right here. Yep, that's Robert. Okay, so File, Place, and look what happened. Placed it right in. Remember when we selected the entire table the second time and I had you go to your cell options and I had you say that the checkbox for clipping? That's what that did. So it made the image fit inside the frame without being super large and having to figure out how to scale it down and losing my position, so forth and so on. So if you set your cells up with that option, let me show you that option one more time. We can go into File, or I'm sorry, Table, Table option, or Cell Options, I should say, Graphic. Make sure you check this box if you want to use images inside the cells. Clip contents to cell. I don't know why it says clip, because what it's really doing is a fill frame proportionally, but it's the checkbox. That's what it's called. All right, so what that will do is that will let you quickly and easily put in images, custom images, wherever you want. Now, I'm going to do you one better. I'm going to do you one that most people never think to do. When I used to use like calendar company software to do this, like for example, Apple's, they had their own calendars back in the day, and you could do this. You could put images on the day. That's why I like doing their calendars. But what if two people shared the same birthday? Who do you like better? No, I'm just kidding. You'd have to choose one image or make a composite maybe of two images put in there. Well, since we're doing this in InDesign, we can actually do something differently. Let's go ahead and select, say it's going to be on the 26th. We're going to have two birthdays on the 26th. Get rid of the date. And while this cell is while you still got that cell selected, go to your table menu, go to your split options, and we're going to split this vertically. So that will create two boxes instead of one. So now we can go File, Place. And we can go in here and grab a picture of Krista. And we can grab in the second cell, we can go File, Place, and grab a picture of somebody else. And having it automatically scale those down is awesome. So there's a picture of Jimmy, a picture of Krista. Now, Krista looks like she's over too far to the right. That's okay because these can be repositioned inside the cell. You can move them around. So if somebody is being cut off, maybe because in this case it's a portrait image and not so much of a portrait square or cell, I can move the images around and get them where I want them to be. Now, just like we use the split option to combine or to take one cell and split it into two, we can also combine multiple cells. Maybe you want to use it for custom notes or inspirational messages or whatever else you want to put on your calendar. So for example, we had all these wasted cells here for the dates we didn't need for January. Well, there's nothing stopping us from using them. So for example, we can select those 3 cells, we can go to the table menu and we can merge them together. And that way you can put in whatever message, or hey, we need one better. You can merge all of those together. Merge. And now you got a nice big frame to put in whatever image, message, note, New Year's resolutions, whatever it is you're trying to keep track of month by month. And that way your calendar just became even that much more custom. So once you're finished designing January, and of course we could go in, like I said, if you want to do things like change the days, and this we probably do on a master page, but like for example, change the day colors so that you're really concentrating on your Monday through Friday as opposed to your weekends. You could change the color of the days. You can do whatever you want. Change the fonts, change them to all caps, whatever you feel like doing. It's your calendar. So again, now we would just go on to February and start over and do the same thing over again. February. God, I'm really missing my R's here. All right. But anyway, you got the idea. Just keep going. Just keep doing it. All right. So with that said, hopefully you got something out of creating your own custom calendar. Now let's say one last thing, one more thing. Let's say this is too much work. Terry, I don't have time. I don't have time to do all this from scratch. Help me. File, New. Search on Adobe Stock, Calendar. It will take you to the website, and it will show you InDesign calendar templates that you can just download and use. So I've licensed a couple here. These are, for the most part, I think these are all free or mostly free. I know these 2 were. So if you see one you like and you just say, hey, I don't have time for that scratch stuff. I don't have time to build it myself. Let me just go in and grab one. You license it. And next time you go create a new document in InDesign, that calendar should be there. So for example, if I close this again and say new document one more time, and that one hasn't synced yet, or maybe it has. Nope, that one hasn't synced yet. But if I go to my other 2 that have, I can go grab the calendar template from scratch. It's going to tell me I'm missing some fonts, which I am. I'm going to go ahead and sync those fonts because all the fonts are used from Typekit so that you would have access to them. And then once those fonts sync down, I would then be able to use this calendar planner that's all built, ready to go with all the dates, all the months, all the frames ready for me to place my content into them. So I wanted to show you the real way to do it first before I showed you the, hey, you could just go get a template way, because that would have been a much shorter stream. All right, that's it. Thanks, everyone. Catch you on the next one. And next week, I believe the team is starting up the 3-day streams over at Adobe Live. Let's see if I've got that banner here. Oh, I do. Hang on. Let's see if I got that. So next week, they're doing vector illustration stream, 3-day streams. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week on Adobe Live at behance.net/live, starting Tuesday morning, 9 a.m. Pacific time to 5 p.m. Pacific time every day. You can go ahead and watch those streams for free. So with that said, thanks for watching, and we will catch you on the next one. Bye, everybody.